Sharon.
Okay, well, I tell you, I really pondered about what it was that I could bring into the circle that would be the of highest service for what, for you to consider. And I went from one thing to another and how to put it together. And oh my gosh. And finally this morning, last minute, do you ever have last minute
Yes,
flash?
yes, yes.
So I'm giving you last minute flashes. So here we go. So in my quest to help assist my energy healing clients, which have been mostly female, to heal their old trauma in order to stop the cycle that's entrapped women. And I began my healing work in like 89. I was shown a beginning of those patterns. And what my spiritual guides told me is that what we've been using was minimal, basically. So for me, what was important is that I not just address the symptom, but find out what is causing the symptom. So I don't want to just share information. I want to always going to be some action to take. What do we do to get beyond it? So, we have in facing our world with what we call the witch's wound, the burning times. We have multiple domination that's formed in various ways. So we might call it patriarchy, we might call it racism, female torture, rape, slavery. They're all eruptions from domination agendas. So here's where we're going to go. I'm going to share kind of a shortened bones version of the galactic history that my spiritual teachers gave me. It was in 1989. I'd been working with spiritual guides as a widow with 9 children under 13, parents gone, didn't trust my religion advisors. So I found that I could ask a question and get the answer in my mind. So for about 14 years, I had an incredible experience with the wisdom that came beyond what I knew, I just called them my spiritual team. Started with the identity of Jesus, who titled Sananda, and beyond that, it was more important to me what would their words bring into my life. If I followed their words, what happened? And it was like incredibly accurate all the time. And so when I about 89 is when I was kind of free enough of being a mom full time, that all of a sudden I learned about affirmations. Whoa, I had a role to play. I could have, bring in a little of my own choice. That was good. And then I was introduced to crystal chakra balancing, hands-on energy, moving energy, and that was good. But what I noticed is that the information that was new to me in 89, 83 to 89, had been on the planet. It was written in books. It had been 50, 100 years. It had been there. Even though I didn't know about it, a lot did. And yet we were still cycling in what I saw as entrapped pain. It was a cycle. I'd work with my clients. We'd get to some, resolution of the energy. And lo and behold, 2 weeks, 3 weeks later, they'd be triggered again. We didn't call it triggering at the time. We called it the onion layer. And I went, you know what? My clients have dreams, they have ideas that are really critically important, will make a difference for humanity. And for them to have to keep coming back to me or coming to here or coming to there, so they're never going to get their dreams accomplished. So I said to my spiritual team, I can see the value of affirmations. I can see the value of hands-on energy work. Had to do my own healing around my resistance to doing that as a female coming from a patriarchal system. But I said, I don't want to do the onion layer. I want to go and learn, where is the cause? What is keeping humanity trapped in this cycle of pain? And the way I would look at it now is like the infection from a sliver. You get a sliver and the body builds up infection, and we were draining off the infection, called the onion layer. And I said, I want to go to cause, because if we take out cause, that infection or onion is going to dissipate. And that's what I want to do. And I want to be able to do it quickly. So they said, it's not being done that way on the planet. That isn't how healing is being done. They aren't going to cause. That information's been hidden. It's been lost. So if that's what you want to do, we're going to have to teach you. We'll have to bring you back information, bring information that's been lost. And so, you know, seems simple to me. So I said, okay, I'm up for that. Very naive. And they said, okay, get journals. We will bring you clients that will cause you to have to stretch, each time stretch, each time stretch, each time stretch, and ask questions, and then we can give you the answers. So it's going to be a back and forward, step-by-step process. I said, I'm up for that. They said, don't worry about reading anything. It's not here. Don't worry about listening to anything. It's not here. What you want isn't here. So I said, okay, got it. So I got my journal, and the first thing they said to me is what I'm going to share with you. They said the first thing to know is that humanity, and when I speak of humanity, what I'm speaking of is divine souls in a female, in a bodysuit. No, we didn't begin in the body. We began beyond the body. So the souls in bodysuits. And so they said, humanity hasn't just lived in two worlds: home, source, God, heaven, whatever name you give it, everything's lovely, and then earth. There isn't two worlds. That has been the experience. There are 8 from home. And I went, I don't even know what that means. A lot of this information, I had no idea what it meant, but I knew it was important. So I'm going to share my screen with you and kind of give you a visual. So this is what they said to start with. I mean, this was right off the bat. They said, here is home, right up here at the top. I haven't made it into a circle of any kind, but here's home. Whatever name you give it, is that source of all good, all possibility, everywhere present, all balanced, all wellness, all wholeness. It's an energy field, and it holds the consciousnesses or intelligences or souls, whatever name you want to give that, of those who eventually have come to be on the planet. And the thing that caused them to begin the journey from home is an agenda, an idea that a group of them coalesced around, had town meetings on, if we use our earth, and they gathered around an idea that said, hey, that's a good idea. Let's take that journey. And it was all agendas based on wholeness, on good. One is joy, one is peace, one is clear leadership, etc. So there are 7 different family groups that make up our earth experience. We are not just one big family. We are basically 7 families, all coming from homes of good, but we have our own agenda, you see. And we have moved and traveled through these energy regions that, when the vibration shifted, came a little slower. When it created a different experience. And so home 1, world 1, world 2, world 3, world 4, 5, 6, 7. Here is earth. And they said, everything that happened to souls who are in groups in those worlds, that's really important. We are not individualized up here. We are like the beehive group. We are a group collective. We live by consensus. What one agrees to, all agree to. What one is injured by, all are injured by. So all beyond earth is groups. Okay, I said that. And so this is an important thing to know, because there are experiences you've had in those areas that have never been resolved, have never been addressed or healed. Okay. So then they said, okay, the other bit of information that came together then, eventually, this is down the road quite a ways, is this little piece here. So this would be a picture of our actual journey from home. Here are all the different worlds I just showed you. We just kept extending, and we had experiences all along the way. Here is Earth down here at the very bottom. Here is Earth. So a lot of this is usually we're looking from the present day back. Present day back. European witch hunts. Military. Well, military recorded. That's a different way of looking at it. Military recorded. Christianity formed. Male rule appears. Earliest female statue. Homo sapien body. Neanderthal body. We're looking, most of the time, we're looking backward. And if you take the eighth world and put it into the dimensions we understand, the 8 dimensions of Earth, dimension 1, 2, 3, that slower frequency is what we call the body, physical. 4 and 5, a little bit faster, is the mental body. A little bit faster still, 6 and lower of 7th is the emotional body, and then this upper vibrations of 7 and 8 is the spiritual body. And we designate them by how we discern them. If it's a physical sensations we can pick up with our body, we call it the body. And for most people in our world, the only thing that's real is what they can touch, taste, smell, feel, their body sensations. For most people, this is only what's real. The vibrations that are either stored or picked up with mind, emotions, or spiritual, intuitive, are looked on as Pollyanna, woo-woo, discount. But then beyond that, few people know about these galactic worlds, and I call them the galactic worlds. So I think that's kind of a recap that you probably most of you know. So I said, okay, I got that. We got 8 worlds. We got to understand the 8 worlds. And they said, that's what we've got to understand. Because until you get to if you're going to go to cause, you got to go to the 8th world. So 8 worlds. So I said, okay, we're on it. And one by one, hundreds and hundreds of different people came that they brought to me. And as we worked, one of the things that's different about this work is that when we work on one person, when I work in a healing session with one person, I'm very aware that they cannot be free unless their collectives in the galactic worlds are free. So here's one individual down on the planet, and they are tied to maybe 4 or 5 different groups that still are carrying injuries or contracts, millions in the group, millions in the group. So that was a major part of that first many years of understanding and clearing about the groups that were, that were holding the contract and injuries, so that the one on in what is really their future self can be free. But I'm going to now go into the problem, the cause. So that's going to take another screen. And again, if I'll stop in just a few minutes and after I do this little part, so that if you have questions you want to ask, certainly do. Okay. So here's that spiral. At home, agenda, choosing agendas, choosing a journey, and then moving into their first world from home. They kind of burst. So we extended from home, like here's the ocean, now here's the stream of this particular stream of this family that wants to experience all the different rays of what we would call peace. I mean, up there it's not a quality, it's harmonics, it's songs, it's numbers, it's dance, it's movement. But in using color, it's easier maybe to understand. So they're going to experience all the hues of the blue range of hues. In our world, it would be peace, experience emotional balance and peace. And they're okay, here's a group, and they're extending from home, and this is their first little lake. Okay, they're still connected to home, but they're experiencing it a little bit differently, a little bit, you'll say limited, but maybe more directly a specific range by choice. They're not going to stay there. They're just going on a journey, like they're going to explore Paris. And that's the first world. Now, the largest family, the family of curiosity, they were a little bit unique because they left the whole range of color open. They might do a red today and then green and then orange, and they were very, very expansive. And so I'm going to take you on the journey of the 12 of the third of that curiosity group. So here's the first where they're all in one group experiencing, but a little bit extended from home. So whoa, that had a different vibration. And now they were like, okay, we got this mastered. Let's divide into 4 groups, and we're going to refract the energy stream with number formulas, which is what they could do. We're going to refract the energy stream into 4 ranges. So yellow, red, blue, green. And we're going to extend now not into 4 groups, and that became their second world. So they were now experiencing either directly or vicariously, because they were all connected, and everything's going well, really fun, having a great time. Now, here's something that, when I first was shown this, I was, wait a minute, I don't know about this, because I had been taught in my limited learning that all there is love and fear. All there is balance and imbalance. And if you're in balance, you're in love or wholeness. And when you're in imbalance, you're in fear. That's all there is. So that's all I knew. So now what my team tells me is, hello, there are groups that have extended from a similar source. I mean, that they chose to not experience creating good, but they chose to live off the experiences others were creating. They chose to be parasitic by nature. They chose to be dominating by nature, by agenda, for a period of time. And that's why these little splashy dots are here. And I went, wait a minute, love, fear, how does it all, I mean, by this time I was like just watching, listening, watching my client, hearing. So here's what happens. These little guys are not of a vibration of wholeness. They are by intention, vibrations, by agenda, they wanted to experience domination over others in order to use other people's energy. They'd already pretty much used up their home space, because that's what parasitics do. They suck dry the host, and they're now moving through this super cluster of Laniakea, like, where's our next place of juiciness? Because if we don't find juiciness, we're going to die, because we're not quite ready to go back home and choose differently. We're not finished with this adventure. Well, here we have 4 groups that are just brilliant, doing great. And of course, they've drawn the attention of some of these groups. And I was told there were 9 initially right here that kind of all were being attracted to this brilliant group. And then the group over here, la-di-da, going on their way, very naive. said, okay, we got this mastered. What about, let's refract into even smaller sections. Maybe there's 4 different ranges within red and within orange and they divided into 12 different groups, each of them with a segment. So they wanted to experience more directly, more deeply, directly and vicariously. And that became the third world. Everything's going well. This is all balanced. This is all expressions of good. It's all expressions of love. But this group out here, these outsider dominating agenda beings, they've got to figure out a way. How do we get in? Because wholeness has boundaries. Wholeness has boundaries. Well, they came up with a plan of lying. Lying. They're going to lie. And they can do that. They can do whatever it takes for their agenda to work. And they decided to start broadcasting into this group, one whisper at a time. 2 of them came eventually, but the first one was, oh my gosh, you guys are amazing. Look at what you've been doing. But you're still tied to mama's apron strings. What would happen if you did your own walk part of the time? Like, what would happen if you kind of spontaneously, once in a while, shut the flow of home down to maybe 10%? Because we have to have a life. The life force has got to stay there. But why don't you kind of let go of mama's hand a little bit? See if you can walk on your own. Well, this is a whisper that comes an idea, which ideas are floating through here all the time, possibilities all the time. And this very naive group doesn't identify it as an idea that is a lie. They don't identify it as a motivation coming from harm. And so they take it on as their own idea. That's a great idea. I think let's go vote for it, because everybody has to agree. Okay, we are on board. Let's do this. But how do we do it? Because we're totally connected. We will just create another little numerical program and insert this program into each of those 12 live streams. And the program will be like, in our terminology, like the one unarmed bandit. Every once in a while, the cherries line up. Bingo, you're disconnected. Or bingo, you're connected. It sounded like a great idea. It was a good idea. And they're curious. Well, they go like, okay, if that happens, we don't know for sure what's going to happen when we've not done this before. We need a safety mechanism, like a group who doesn't get the program, who stays totally connected, totally stable, totally strong. Anybody want to be on board and volunteer? Yes, here's a 13th group. 12 groups, they're going to go into the experiment. One group's going to be stable. This is like the spiritual energy healer, bringing somebody in on their table. They're holding a stable space, and they're going to align them back to wholeness. That's kind of the same thing. So the 13th group says, okay, we're going to hold strong, secured energy from home. You're safe. And the 12 different groups, each of them taking the chip that's going to automatically, ongoingly, spontaneously put them into either full flow from home or maybe 10% flow from home, back and forth. Put in the chip, they activate the chips, and they are on the ride. Everybody's different. Red, 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 muddy red, muddy red, muddy red, clear green, muddy green. I mean, everybody's different. This whole carnival began. Extreme carnival, boy, that was fun, and they're having a good time at first. The 13th group goes like, oh my gosh, look at that. Well, that does feel, it kind of feels fun, But then they go like the 13th begins to see things that those in experiment can't. And they're seeing the energy slowing down when they're disconnected from home, and the panic and, you know, this new feeling of unbalance is not good. It isn't good. The 13th group's watching, ready for any one of those 12 groups to say, we're finished, to be surrounded with the 13th, held steady, while that particular group removes the chip, removes the program, breathes, and get back to wholeness. Good plan. Until the outsiders took their second step and began broadcasting the second whisper, which was to the 13th. Oh my gosh, you guys are not going to be strong enough to do this. I don't know. If you try to step in, you're going to be taken under because you don't know how to do this. You've never done it before. You are not enough. You are not enough. We can help you though. We've been out here longer. We can help you. Just let us come on in. 2 broadcasting whispers from the outsider, created by the outsiders. Let go of tradition, let go of wisdom, let go of family, home, source. And the second whisper, you're not enough. Well, the 13th bought it because they were concerned, and they bought it, and they invited these beings into that space of the third world. And then the wolf came out of the sheep. You know, it's like then their true nature came in, and they said, okay, now we're in charge. We are in charge. And they started to put in their own forms of ownership, of domination, of discounting, and expanding their presence in this family. So the 12 groups, the chips were never removed. The 13th group was not able to do what they had intended to do, and they went back to the families like the warriors in, you know, going to military that don't dare talk about what has happened to them, because they don't want these 12 families to give up hope. They don't want to say to the families, help's not coming. So they go back, they feel totally responsible. Everything from that point on, they believe is their fault. They bring in a whole new concept in the third world. From that point on, we had wholeness refracted intentionally by a program to be wholeness, imbalance, love, fear. Duality was not created on the planet by humanity. It was a program created in the third world for an adventure, and the adventure never got completed. The chips were never removed. Duality began right here for that reason. So that was a big cause. So 2 vibrations. That's why staying in wholeness is an impossibility with all this going on in the third world. It would be an impossibility. Of course, we keep recycling in pain because the program kept knocking us off. The other thing that was now is the outsider energy of domination became primary, because once you have a dominator amongst you, that dominator begins to multiply and create more and more devices, more and more attachments, and more ownership. And then you had the constant broadcasting. Don't believe the old stuff. Don't believe the wisdom of the old. Oh, no, home. No, home can't help you. And the broadcasting, if you're not enough, keep looking for some other answer. No, that's not enough. Keep looking for a different answer. So here on the planet, that shows up in our world today.
Good time.
Yeah. So from that point on, everything started to diminish. The fall of energy is the vibrational fall or diminishing or lessening or slowing down of energy, because it was never corrected. And now we have the fifth world, we have the sixth world, we have the seventh world, and we are literally diminishing and dying, because that's what parasitics create. A dying culture, a dying host. So here's, I mean, and we tried as the Divine Families, we tried many, many different ways, and the injuries that came from that, and the contracts and the shutdowns that came from that, all existed in this world. So we came up with a plan, and this is what's also very important in relationship to females. So we came up with a plan that this energy, these outsiders were sneaky as hell. They were deceptive. They were violent. But the energy that they would bring was sometimes so subtle, we couldn't even grasp it. We couldn't hold on to it. We couldn't identify it. It was just swamping us. So we decided that we needed to create a different kind of life experience in order, why? To get rid of the outsiders. As long as they were in our presence, we would die. That's just the end result. They owned us, they controlled us. How in the heck are we going to get rid of them? So we came up with the idea for a physical planet, what we call a physical planet, a planet where the law of manifestation could be put into place, which says any energy that's in the field is going to slow down and begin and to manifest in forms that can be identified. Okay, law of manifestation. The second law was the law of personal choice. One person, when one person saw or sensed the forming or the manifestation of outsider energy, that one person could declare, not in my home, remove it back to where it came from. We didn't want to just be out from under their presence. We wanted them gone. We didn't want to just be safe because I'm sending it over to Africa. We wanted it gone. So personal choice. So the Earth became a physical manifesting planet where personal action could be taken. We had to be able to do it fast. We didn't want to have to call a committee together. You see, personal choice. And here's what's important for females, souls born in female bodysuits, but they owned us. We were marked. We were coded. They owned us. How are we going to handle that? Because when you're owned, you do not say to the master, hey, been great working on your plantation. I got all the skills I need now. I'm on to my own land. No. It doesn't work that way. They're going to follow us. These outsiders are the masters here, and they're going to follow us right down into the next plan, because they do. That's their right. But we needed, because it's a physical manifesting planet, it's going to be formed, it's going to be a hardened energy. Our soul needed a vehicle, like a moon suit. Well, if we had one suit, why not two? Because we could transfer the ownership code for us, this soul, into this bodysuit. So one of the bodysuits would carry two coded ships. So that particular soul in that particular body would, they'd be monitored, but they're already monitored. They'd be owned, but they're already owned. But they could then be the one who keeps the outsiders diverted they'll just be watching the one in this bodysuit, seeing where they're going to start having this bodysuit make good things happen for the outsiders on the planet. So it's a diversion. The other most important thing, though, was it left one bodysuit not needing to carry the code, not carrying the code. Therefore, the outsiders had no way of, didn't even know the bodysuit was on the planet. There's no energy coming off the second bodysuit to tell the outsiders that there's this bodysuit on the planet. And it gives the soul in that bodysuit power of authority. This soul is no longer owned. This soul then can say, hey, I see that there's the form of outsider. I can see it or smell it or taste it or sense it. However that bodysuit's picking it up. And the soul in the bodysuit can say, there it is over there, and call in the teams waiting in the unseen world to move that energy back to its home. That soul had the authority, the sensitivity, and the responsibility to identify, name, and have the outsiders removed. Something we had not been able to do in all of these worlds. We had simply survived, tried to get out from under, simply survived. Having two bodysuits made it possible for us to get rid of the outsiders. The bodysuit carrying two marks we call male. It wasn't called male at the time. It was just, that was the assignment. The bodysuit without the marks we call female. So souls born into a female body had the assignment, had the wiring, had the DNA, had the chakra systems to do that work. And they did for a while. So the way the chakra systems and the evolutionary path and the DNA was for that bodysuit was to bring in the energy, check out the pattern of the causal. Yep, I'm ready to go. Come into the body, ground at the feet. I'm on the planet. Now realize that's very hardened, and outsiders would normally be able to see that bodysuit easily, but they don't know it's there. She's invisible. I'm on the planet, and then she roots into the earth. That's the chakra path. Into the earth to root with other sisters, with other females, with other souls. That's where we got our strength. That's where we did our dance. We sharing. That's why trees are so important to women. They are models of what we are intended to be. And then they would move up to the base chakra and say, where do we want to be on the planet? Let's move the village. No, and they would go, where are we going to be? And what do we need to survive on this planet? What do we need? And she would gather that information with Gaia, with her sisters, with her exploration. And then she would design how the village would be laid out. All of this going on while the man is over there sitting on the side of the river with his feet in, distracting the outsiders. He's sitting and he's only bringing the energy of all possibility and spreading that through his heart center to nourish, but to be unseen, because it feels like there's no place it's going. To the outsiders, there's no place it's going. What a lazy, guy this is. We'll give him a little longer, but he's got to get working pretty soon. He can't be sitting here forever. He's totally distracting while she is rooting, connecting, designing, and then holding in her creative chakra the building of the culture. The village comes alive. The garden over here, and we want this here, and have and everything's coming so that that village mission force can thrive together. You see? Now she's tasted how good forms. So she's had a taste of how good forms on this planet. She has had the process of creating and manifesting. She's experienced. So the next step for her is the Sophia Wisdom Solar Plexus. The sensitivity, activating the sensitivity to discern not just what's good. Now it's time for you to see what outsider energy is like in this world. What is good? What is evil? Fruit of good and evil. Why? Because she had the power that when as soon as she tasted anything that was off, hey, not acceptable here. Team, move this energy configuration, identify it, neutralize it, bring all the tentacles together and move it back to its home of origin. That began the real purpose of this earth, to clear outsider energy. And she needed that sensitivity that we now call too emotional, the sensitivity, the language, the information that we get either in our spiritual frequencies, our mental frequencies, our emotional frequencies. It was hoped that the outsiders would be totally cleared before they ever became physical form.
That didn't work.
No, because the outsiders discovered that there was the second body, and that's a whole different story, but they discovered the second body. And they started whispering to the second body, you're not enough. Oh no, don't step and identify us. You're not enough. You're not enough. The broadcasting began again. And she said, okay, maybe for a little while, I better learn this a little bit better, whatever. And the wiring got crippled, the DNA got crippled, everything crashed. And then the outsiders intentionally went from village to village where they knew was the one bodysuit. Now they knew there were two, and the invading system began to find those in female bodies. Why? Who was their biggest enemy and still remains so? So why do you think women have been targeted? Why do you think the woman's body has been targeted? And why do you think outsiders who do not have bodies necessarily, but they use and influence, they have had from the beginning until just recently the right to step into a male body and use it for their purpose? Our brothers, our soul brothers, are heart men. That was crippled too. They are heart men. They are not aggressors. They are nurturers. So when you see the behavior of the male body that has been aggressive, competition, power over, patriarchy, witch hunts, you know that there is outsiders either using the body, manipulating the body. That's what you're seeing. You are not seeing our soul brothers. You are seeing outsiders. And when you see anything or sense anything that seems off to you in this day and time, all you need to do is say, I don't know, something feels off over there. And the team I use and we've pulled together is the PTO team. PTO, check that out. Something there may not be acceptable. And they have the sensitivity that you no longer have. They have the sensitivity to identify outsider domination frequencies at any level or form. And they only need your voice to say, check out that. That's something that doesn't seem right there. Did we have them checking out Trump? Absolutely. Do we have them checking out Biden? Absolutely. Because there is nobody who is making a difference on this planet that is not attracting the energy of whatever outsiders are still left.
Yeah.
You? Absolutely. Me? Absolutely. So we have a protocol called the Guardian Circle, and I'll attach that to this video, that you can just say, keep me cocooned in this Guardian Circle. Because as you do good stuff and become brighter, you are a threat. And in the past, you would have been crippled. You would have been crushed. You'd have been burned at the stake. that's no longer necessary anymore, because we are waking up, we are remembering, and we are stepping into authority. Everybody you work with doesn't have to know this, but you ought to know it, because you need to keep yourself cocooned in a guardian circle. You need to keep the people you work with who are going to become lighter, keep them cocooned in a guardian circle. You can have them say, just do this a protective thing, keep yourself in a guardian circle, because we are walking into a transition in time, and the light is not going to be crushed this time. The whole galactic information piece had been hidden, programmed away. And it was in 2000 that I was told, okay, now start teaching it. I have never taught it in totality until now. I'm teaching it in totality now, but I have never taught it in totality. But we need it now so that we can add the additional pieces. It's not you. You are part of the whole mission. You are part of the whole mission, and whatever you do to make a difference would be a threat to those who have created systems and cultures of domination. And you don't need to be, because with just understanding and specific decrees, you can continue your expansion, your client's expansion, as we continue to eliminate the outsiders. I asked a couple of weeks ago somebody who's, I've been working with groups since 20 very intensely on specific things like clearing the galactic worlds. Those things do no longer exist, but we're still going through in this curriculum, we're going through to anchor those healings even more deeply than before. Somebody said, how we made a difference on the planet. So I just tuned in and asked, because I'd never asked exactly for numbers. And so I said to my group, I said, in 2000, when the galactic information was opened, it may have been opened in many places, but I know in my world, it was opened with me. Let's say that we were 100% contaminated in 2000, because we hadn't cleared much at all. They said, okay. I said, where are we today? And they said, there's 40% left. So their energy's changing. It is really changing. If you're feeling it, you're right. And the major purpose for Earth, everything about Earth, is to get rid of the outsiders, so we can bring and create manifestations of good benefit on the planet that don't get destroyed. Whole purpose of Earth. So anyway, we have about 3 minutes left. I don't know if you have any questions, but you certainly can email me, if you want, but anything on the tip of your mind.
Yeah, so you're going to tell us how to do the guardian circle.
Yes, I'm going to send you a PDF.
Okay.
The guardian circles contain secure channels to wholeness, to expand love, because we know that is necessary. Love does not impact the outsiders. They are not out of balance. Violet, purple, whatever, yellow, yeah, none of that impacts them.
Yeah.
So it has the secure channels, claiming secure channels to the divine and wholeness. It has a calling in of the individuals' healing teams, giving healing teams permission to heal or keep the healing going of what the soul is calling for. And then it has what I call a PTO team, which I'll send you about information about that. And they are the ones who I've worked with extensively, and they're specifically to identify, remove outsider energies, either those that we've brought in with us, all of us have, or those who are coming to attack. So that's shorthand, but I'll send a PDF on that.
Thank you.
You also said something about marks. The men were marked. And
Yeah. The contracts. What we've done and been able to do is say, because enough of us have stepped into that space of authority, we say, okay, wait a minute. We are in a space that says the marks of ownership are no longer part of the male body. They don't own us anymore. Those bodies are ours. They're ours. This planet is ours. So we've called for the removal and the non-inclusion of ownership marks in the male bodysuit. We've called for the rewiring, the updating of the DNA, the activation of the correct chakra system. All of that is also part of the, because we didn't get information just to know information. As we found what was there, we said, okay, what do we need to do to correct it? What's the program? What's the decrees? What is, it's been a research project, but we left nothing in place. All I'm telling you of what it was up until 2000 is what it was up until 2000. But all of that healing, clearing, has been a constant since then. And yeah.
Are there other people like yourself that work with this information that
No.
downloaded? You're it?
No one I know, and so what, and I'm 80, going on 80. So this year I'm intentionally creating a curriculum for the entire information. It's called Galactic to Gaia Odyssey. And I'm so sharing that with others, but I'm also then creating a tract, probably starting in July, for anyone who's interested in knowing it well enough to teach it and knowing it well enough to apply it in what I call the tag galactic system of healing. So you can add the system of the galactic healing to whatever you already are doing, or use it as a standalone. So I've got my intention by the end of the year is that there will be very clear facilitators and teachers.
Great.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you.
How can we use this to heal ourselves right now, this information?
What you can do, I'll send you links to my website. You can just begin by putting yourself in the guardian circle and activating it every day, which basically you've got the flowing more good, healers keep going. The command, the deep six, which is also part of that, is active, brings in the action on it. But what I was just going to say, the place to start, of course, as with everything, is with your declaration. And I started with affirmations. I don't use affirmations anymore, but the principle's the same. You declare the end result. So your end result is my energy fields on all 64 dimensions, because there's 64 regions, not 8, 60 on all 64 dimensions, is in resonance. You use your own words, in resonance to my divine family's agenda and home. You declare the end result, right? Then I use what's called the reality shift, so that you bring in your healers and say, move my consciousness and the consciousness of everyone to whom I'm connected in love into that reality and that experience. So now you're saying, get us all into the vibration of it. And then you're going to say to the PTO team, deep six, that means transform, heal, anything that they can do without your conscious participation. Deep six, anything that is, has, or would keep me from it, keep us from it. So you activate a big healing across the board. And you say to your design team that helped design your plan, design team, create the highest, the program for the highest expression of this experience for me and those I'm connected to. Design the plan or the program, and download the codes into my first dimension and anchor it in the 5th dimension, which is the platform where life plans for this life are held. I claim it. It is designed, anchored, and activated. And that's a reality shift, and I'll attach the reality statement, reality shift. So that would be, and that could begin, and everything in TAG from the beginning, it was like, I want this work to be powerful, but not ripping people out of their bodies. I didn't want people to have to throw up and, be affirmed that the work was working because they were so impacted. I wanted it to be absolutely as gentle as possible, but powerful.
Is this immediate or does this take time?
It's up to your higher self. Usually when you're asking it, it works like within 3 or 4 days, it starts moving, opening new doors, changing things.
Sharon, I'm going to have to go. but I have a strong feeling Jeff's got a gift of clearing,
Aha.
and he has developed it over the last 15 years.
Yeah.
And he's also been attacked by
Yeah.
this brain meningioma.
Yeah.
And he feels possessed sometimes. He says that I feel this
Yeah,
is so
right.
foreign to me. What is this?
Yeah.
So I need to relate. I need to connect.
Yeah.
There's
You can
something.
immediately you can just say to his team, keep him totally surrounded with the guardian circle cocoon, the vortex of the guardian circle, and just reaffirm that every day. And he can do that himself too, of course.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Those
So
who can truly make a difference, who can truly free people, those are the ones that will attack, who will
oh
attack
my
the
God.
attention of those who want us to stay stuck. That's why you guys, you're doing that work, and you don't want to slow down.
You
So
first showed me this in 2008 at the Gather the Women thing
yeah,
in Seattle. And it's been in me, but I didn't know what to do with it. And now my life has converged on it, and just in so many other resonances, I can't tell you.
yeah.
So I just want to thank you.
And I'm up. One of the things on my website is a button. Anybody can just schedule 30 minutes. Let's sit and chat. I'd like to know what you're up to and how we can work together always. Okay.
Thank you.
Love you
Thank you,
guys.
everybody.
Jenny.
Great call.
Thank you.
Hi, Jeannie, I'll call you or catch up with you.
Okay, good, Marilyn. Thank
Okay.
you, everybody.
Bye, Jeannie.
Thank
Bye.
you. That was wonderful. Yeah.
Sharon,
right.
this is extraordinary. This is
Yeah.
really extraordinary, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart to share this gift that you have and this knowledge. I want to say that I had a friend of mine who passed away a couple years ago, a man who was a healer and a medium.
Mhm.
And he told me a number of years ago, and I think he'd only told me and maybe another person or two, that he was here to fight that good and evil, and that he brought together a team of people, and they stayed in a house for a couple of years. And he said, we fought the fight and we eliminated evil on the planet so that now we can evolve. And he told me all about this fight. And this was a man who was a gay man, very sensitive,
Yeah.
Good blend, marriage of the masculine and the feminine. But I remember him telling me this and thinking, now what happens here after the fight was over and he passed away a couple of years after that.
Mhm.
I was like, well, what do we do now? And I have felt kind of stuck because the energy is still really strong. This destructive energy is still really strong. So I'm listening to you thinking like, how do we use this now? How do we clear the energy that no longer belongs so that we can bring more of the whole energy and create, the communities of the future? Because
Yeah.
that's what I'm focused on, is how do we evolve and have more fifth dimensional living here on the planet?
Well, it's, for one thing, he's right in that it's no longer a fight. We all have our sword, but it's not to fight.
Mhm.
It's to say, here's our stand. And so it's certainly continuing to know and to do what's brought to you. I've taught shorter courses, and that might be something to put together if anybody's interested, where we can say, okay, because this curriculum is a year-long curriculum, and that's a long curriculum. You're learning a lot. But what I've also taught is pieces here and there as it applies to specific situations. And the situation here is like, we're doing our work. We're each in our own way doing a healing modality, a teaching modality, which is important because you have to meet people where they're at. So how can you take your healing modality and add information that makes it an absolute transformational system? And that's a good question. I'm going to think on that one, Susan.
Okay.
Thank you.
There's so many men and women that I know right now that are waiting for this kind of knowledge and then wanting to go into action, but they don't have this depth of information to understand.
Yeah.
Um,
What I find is most people have done what what you can do is like, looking from Earth back, and they find the back, and then they find the back, and then they find the back, which is okay, but we don't have time anymore.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
so if we get back, really back, and then wherever it's appearing, we can collapse time. And that's what I'm doing in my work. We're collapsing time.
Mhm.
So let's just stay connected, and I'll ponder on the next step that I can present. Okay.
Mhm. Excellent.
Thank
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Lovely, Sharon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
And
Thank you so much.
like I say,